Hello everybody. So this video took a long while to make, but today I want to talk about SuperMicro, ticker symbol SMCI, and I want to begin with discussing some of the drama, I guess, that there is on this stock. So one of the funny things is yes, it dropped on Friday. JP Morgan, right, the banking behemoth, they downgraded it to $500 a share. That's their downgrade, right? And the stock is trading at 380 and change. So anyways, that's what these bloated banks, I'm not going to get even started on that. It's funny enough to think that JP Morgan, the behemoth of its day today is smaller than NVIDIA. And I'm just saying that the times have changed, right? What are the leading companies of today? The reason why I mention NVIDIA is you'll see this video is a lot about NVIDIA too. There's a lot about NVIDIA. That's also true and applies to SMCI. SMCI and NVDA are well connected. I recommend, this is a nice evening watch, I suppose. It's an hour presentation that they did together, and they work hand in hand, right? The CEO, Charles Liang, was joined by NVIDIA for their Computex, it's a Taiwan conference, and they kind of explain how they stand together and how they stand to benefit together from the adoption of AI through the data centers, but specifically through liquid cooling and through the equipment, right? SuperMicro is a seller of equipment. They sell the racks, they sell the blades, they sell the servers. That's what they do. So that's the first piece of drama, right? JP Morgan downgraded them to 28% more than what's trading at right now. There's another piece of drama, which is the short seller. Now, of course, I don't read short seller reports. I don't ever go that low. There's a few things I want to say. So first of all, and I'll point that out later. Remember this: they're liquid cooled solutions for SMCI. It represents about 75% of the AI server market, i.e. they claim to have a 75%, they believe they have a 75% market share in the direct liquid cooled AI server market. And this is very important for Blackwell. Blackwell coming up in spring of 2025, which is the next generation of NVIDIA chips, which is going to be replacing the H100s and the H200s. We know many hyperscalers did not upgrade to the H200. They were sticking to the H100, and then they want to upgrade straight to the Blackwell architecture. So that's an aspect to remember. They are the leading provider of liquid-cooled AI racks. Point number one. Point number two is I just had a comments on one of my videos where I talk about SMCI, and someone say, oh, don't buy them, blah, blah, blah. It's a fraud. They're a fraud. I don't know anything about that. All I know is that the CEO wrote this letter on September 3, 2024, and this is what they say, although they're going to have to do some restatement, likely because of that short report. They're going to have to do some restatement. This is what they say. We indicated, right, that based on the work done so far, so they've delayed the 10K. They're going to delay it because it's not ready right now, but they're working on it. So you see they've worked on it already. The odds are they're going to be less than 2 weeks late. So if you're less than 2 weeks late, there's like no penalty. It's a grace period. So the odds are they're going to be good. Hopefully, we'll see. If they're not, that's not the end of the world either. In my view, but this is because of what the CEO says. The CEO says here, we don't anticipate any material changes in our fourth quarter or fiscal year 2024 financial results. This is very important, right? They just reported on early August 3rd, they reported the close of their fiscal year 2024. They're kind of a staggered year for them. So they reported Q1 through Q4 2024. They are done. The next time they report, it will be Q1 2025. And out of the past 1 year that they've been in business, which is really what matters, what we care about, that's where they've done outstanding. They don't anticipate any material changes. This is all I'm saying that the CEO is saying. So that makes me feel much better because it's a founder-led company. It's a CEO who has a lot of skin in the game. That's his company, his own company, right? And they doubled their revenue. They're growing 3 times higher than industry average. We'll talk about their market share. We'll talk about their growth in a few minutes. I also want to show you this part of the letter, which reflects exactly how I feel about short reports. Separately, you may have heard a recent report from a short seller hedge fund. I love it. I should say short seller hedge fund every time. That contains false or inaccurate information about our company, including misleading presentations of information that we previously shared publicly. I'm reading them here. I'm not saying that. I'm reading what they say, right? We will address these statements later. But as you may know, short sellers are designed to drive the stock price downward to serve a short seller's interests to the detriment of the company's shareholders. This is all you need to know. This is all I need to know. This is why I do not read short seller reports. I just don't go that low, right? It will mess up your IQ to read these reports. In my humble view, this is my humble opinion, right? The same short seller that's doing this to SMCI, I remember when they attacked the Cash App, right? They attacked Square and Square Block, the company of Jack Dorsey, which owns the Cash App, which is the leading digital wallet in the US. And the way they had attacked it, again, not making a value judgment, but they had attacked the Cash App. One of the key arguments was that there's rap music that say they use the Cash App and it's part of the lyrics in the rap music. Well, all it means is that the Cash App has replaced the $100 bills. That's all it means to me. And Jason Lee, I think back then, if you read the article from this commentator, he explains it very well. I mean, it's music, okay? So they just, anyways. It doesn't have to make sense. The key, if you're a short seller, is you put something, that's just gonna spook the market, and then you load up on put options before you put it out, and then you close your position and you make a bunch of money. That's how they work. Again, their research included a sample of I think half a dozen of rap music videos, and that was their argument against Square. So I wouldn't, I personally don't put any credence on them, and I definitely don't read them. I try to stay sharp and not go that low. I do want to address something else in the short report. So one of the criticism, if you unfortunately I overlooked it. If you overlook the short report, one of the criticism was that SMCI, for example, one of the brothers of a CEO is a supplier. So they talk about nepotism. They talk about family business. And I just want to say something specific about that industry. First of all, let me just say that the cousin, right, Lisa Su, the cousin of Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, is Lisa Su. So that's her. That's his cousin is the CEO of a main competitor. So they're cousins. So you don't know if they're on a phone call or something. They probably have phone calls together. They're the same family. I just want to show you that in the semiconductor space, there's a lot of similarities in this space. So for example, this is important for later in the video. SMCI and NVIDIA, the two companies, they are a 9-minute drive away. I want to say it's less if you go at night. I pulled up this time during the day. This is the headquarters of NVIDIA. This is the headquarters of SuperMicro. It's a 9-minute drive in traffic. No traffic, maybe less. I don't know. They're next door. So they are literally in the same location. They were founded in the same year. SMCI, SuperMicro, and NVIDIA were founded the same year. They're both still founder-led. The founders are both still in their 60s. The founders were both born in Taiwan. They're both Taiwanese, fluent Taiwanese speakers. They're both billionaires. They both actually were born in Taiwan pretty close. This is a 45-minute drive. Tainan is where the CEO of NVIDIA was born. Xiaohui is where the CEO of SMCI was born. So even when it comes to Taiwan, it's from the same region, which is interesting to wonder why, like what's going on in that part of the world. This is really the industry of that part of the world. That's what this is, right? And both invite their family, of course, to participate in the family business. This is the daughter of Jensen Huang. She's director of product marketing. And this is the son of Jensen Huang. And he is an engineer, right? He's a developer. So they work at the family business. So that's how it is. That's how it works. It's a family business, you know. Kudos to the heir of $50 billion each as of today, all right? They're both, the inheritance is, you know, Wang has $100 billion, so I guess it's 50 billion each. Kudos for them to work. This is great. You know, this is. I see this as a plus. I don't see this as a downside. Look at like the short seller. It's like you know, obvious. I mean, to me, I don't have a problem with it. That's just me. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't have a problem with it. Okay, enough with the People stuff. This is not People magazine. This is not a tabloid. So let me move on. And again, like I said, this is what happens when you read short reports. It kind of kills your IQ. Short reports kill your IQ. I don't read them. No advice, of course, but I wouldn't read them. That's just me. So a good watch, like I said, to understand the product is that keynote at Computex 2024 where I explain the product. This is the CEO right there, and you see him very proud in front of the growth. And keep in mind, you know, spoiler for a video, they are guiding doubling that yet again, right? So that would go about here. It means the top of the chart right there would double again, right? So pretty nuts stuff. Moving on to, let me tell you a little bit about the company. The company has hundreds of products, right? And they do a lot of things, but it's in high performance computing. They're all about high performance computing, data centers, racks, cabinets, blades, networking connectors, cooling system. And cooling system are particularly important when discussing this company right there. So they claim to be the most optimized solution to build AI factories around the world. And you will see I tend to see that too when I look at them. They claim to be the greenest solution. So this is very important. The CEO has a personal passion. He's personally passionate and put this into the mission statement of the company. He's personally passionate about green stuff and about Mother Earth. And if you look at a few things about the CEO, he talks about his childhood, growing in the forest, etc. And in normal times, you know, on this channel, we wouldn't really care. I mean, good for you, but that wouldn't be central to any business, except when you are designing rack solutions. What does being green translate to? Well, being green translates to being a low power equipment. That is how you become green. So the CEO's obsession about green, about the planet, has led him to design also the most power efficient racks. And we know that this is absolutely essential in today's world where we are seeing an energy shortage to power the solution. So what is green is also the most efficient from a cost standpoint. Okay, and this is highly important here. They have developed the cooling solutions that are needed for future expansion, the liquid cooling specifically. That story is a major liquid cooling story. And if you want to know about liquid cooling, this is from their website. They claim that thanks to liquid cooling, electricity costs in the data center is going to be up to 40% less. Noise, we don't really care too much about that. I guess it's a form of pollution, but not talking about noise. Maybe if you're an engineer, it matters. Maybe the efficiency of your workers, it matters. But otherwise, you know, you can use earplugs. But this one we care about, the reduction in electricity cost of cooling the infrastructure is up to 89% savings. So again, to me, this is pretty outstanding. So why is liquid cooling important? And by the way, this is the data center, right? The IT solution, the one-stop shop, right? This is what this looks like. Why is liquid cooling important? Because the Blackwell architecture, what will replace the H100 and H200s in the spring of 2025, and it was delayed by NVIDIA because they had a problem in the production process, which is why both stocks dropped. That Blackwell architecture, the next big thing in AI, is it going to need liquid cooling? And the short answer is yes. Aside from an article on Reddit that I could find where apparently a Dell executive said it was not needed, maybe not, but it's mostly, preferably, greatly recommended, if that makes some sense. And NVIDIA is pushing its own design for the rack. There's a design for the rack. There's even an NVIDIA branded rack. But they're partnering for those racks in liquid cooling. They're partnering with other companies, including the leader in liquid cooling right now, the king of liquid cooling, which is SMCI. Going back to that part of the CEO letter, our liquid-cooled solutions continue to ramp. We have shipped 2,000 DLC liquid-cooled AI racks to customers, and we believe it's more than 75% of the entire DLC liquid-cooled AI server market share. September 6, letter from the CEO, September 6. Liquid cooling is essential to the future of SMCI, and it's essential to the future of NVIDIA. And SMCI, the neighbor of NVIDIA, is a leading designer of these systems and probably played a major role in NVIDIA pushing for Blackwell. So there is a symbiosis here. SMCI has expanded its capacity greatly. They've been investing a lot. They've been stocking in anticipation of a Blackwell demand, which, if you remember, was supposed to happen earlier this year. It was supposed to happen this fall. It's delayed. So that's why, if you read, you have some analysts that are complaining that SMCI has stock. Well, they were planning for the ramp to happen in the fall. NVIDIA delayed it, so now they're sitting on the stock. Okay, it's going to hurt a little. Nowhere near that drop in the stock price, in my view. You can see this is an example of their NVIDIA HGX2 platform. So they provide NVIDIA-ready, NVIDIA-branded, NVIDIA-certified racks for data center. This is what they do. And of course, they're not the only ones to do that, you may say. And one of the key questions is, how much competition does SMCI have in providing all of this equipment? Well, I want to show you two things. Based on my research, the key competitor is Dell. Dell is the key competitor of SuperMicro. But when you actually go on NVIDIA's website and you figure out, okay, what rack can I use? What is it recommended? What does NVIDIA want me to use? And you can see when you type SuperMicro, that's like the number one product that you can find in that search tool. They have 520 items, some qualified, many of which NVIDIA certified items for building your data center. So there is a clear connection between the SMCI product and the NVIDIA product, because of course you're not going to buy just the chip. You need the entire data center, as these demos shows whenever NVIDIA shows something. Dell, to give you an idea, Dell, quote unquote, Dell only has 29 pages of products. So one of them, and some of them are ready, some of them are certified. But Dell, I would argue, is a slightly smaller supplier of data center equipment to hyperscalers who use NVIDIA compared to SMCI. SMCI, I would argue, is the first. Probably helps to think. The headquarters of Dell, of course, is in Austin, Texas, right? The headquarters of SMCI is 9 minutes away. Again, sorry to go back on that. Maybe a little people information that's useful. Here's another one of May 2024. Apparently, SMCI should received orders accounting to 25% of the total supply. So there's a lot of interest for the SuperMicro solution as NVIDIA ramps, as NVIDIA Blackwell ramps, and that's going to be a big deal. I also want to bring someone that I talk about on the channel, often. I mean, you can talk about business without talking about Elon Musk. Elon Musk, that's kind of a strategy of Musk. When he does the batteries, he's using two suppliers for the batteries and has them compete with each other. Well, kind of the same way that he did for his XAI startup in Memphis, built one of the world's biggest computers. And you can see this Twitter account is saying, hey, look, Michael Dell shared a picture of supercomputers to power XAI. Michael Dell's in Memphis, helping with the build-out and the rollout of a cooled system. So Dell is working on cooled systems, right? And Elon Musk, who supplies the other half, and Elon says, oh, it's SuperMicro, it's SMC. So SuperMicro is half of a data center, Dell is the other half of a data center. Kind of makes sense, kind of like when an airline has both Boeing and Airbus. You're probably happy you have some Airbus right now, given Boeing's reputation. If you just have one, if there's a problem, you're in trouble. This is images of the cooled system, and you can clearly see these racks. They are liquid cooled. You can see all of these pipes. It's for cooling the equipment, and they're also working on these huge evaporation systems that you put on the roof, and you can see the system. This is all SMCI branded stuff. SMCI being a pioneer in this because of their quote-unquote green CEO, who's obsessed with green and with energy efficiency and energy savings. I also want to show this as an indication that liquid cooling is the future. This is anecdotal, but this is funny to me. So, of course, Dell is working with liquid cooling because it's needed for NVIDIA Blackwell server. So, right, Dell will have an 8-way server with liquid cooling coming later this year. So they haven't developed it yet, right? SMCI has, but they're working on it. And to tell you the mindset of the CEO posted this on Instagram. A dog engaging, he quoted that, he said direct liquid cooling for a dog. So that tells you where the mind of a CEO must be right now. That was 2 days ago exactly. The screenshot is just today. The mind of a CEO is, hey, direct liquid cooling is the future. That's what they're all working on. That's where the bulk of the growth is going to come. And the leader in DLC, direct liquid cooling, once again, with 75% market share, is SMCI. So, I've learned enough to make a decision on this stock. If you watch my other video from 2 days ago, I started a position already. What have I learned? Liquid cooling, that's the next big thing for NVIDIA Blackwell. And if everybody upgrades to NVIDIA Blackwell, they're all going to need some liquid cooling at some point. And even if they don't upgrade, say, it's still the future of computing, because using less power is going to become critical as power becomes more and more expensive everywhere. SMCI seems far ahead to me in liquid cooling. They've made a lot of investments. And I invest for top line growth. So I'm sorry about the short report, but I really don't care. If they have to restate 2024 and they make a penny less or 10 pennies less or a penny more, the EBITDA, adjusted EBITDA drops by 10 million or 100 million, that's not going to change anything for me, because I invest for top line. I invest for product adoption. I want to see product adoption in the businesses that I buy. And we know that's good from the letter on September 6th from the CEO. So, now that I've put it out of the way, let's go for the number. How much sales growth can we expect moving forward? So, in Q4 2024, and we know these numbers are good per the CEO letter, they did in Q4, right? So the prior quarter, the last quarter, they did 5.3 billion. Q1 2025, i.e. this quarter we're in right now, they're predicting 67 billion. Full year, 26 to 30 billion in revenue is what they're predicting. I have enough to fill my spreadsheet here. So, let's go. So, Q4 2024, that was 5.3 billion. That was reported on August 3, 2024 of today. For Q1 2025, which will likely be reported in November, they're saying they will do 6.5 billion. That's outstanding. That's 22.6% growth quarter over quarter. Me, who's looking for growth all the time, 22% quarter over quarter growth. Okay, that's stunning growth, and that's guided here. So many CEOs shy away from guidance. That's guided. And the CEO also guides the full year. The full year he guided 26 to 30 billion. So as always, I take the midpoint, right? Let me take a $28 billion midpoint. Full year 2024, if you add Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, you add it all together, you get 14.94 billion. That's what they did trailing 12 months in revenue. And they're predicting to do, forecasting to do 28 billion. So that's plus 87%. They are guiding 87% growth. The CEO is taking a risk. And you know these things are sandbagged often. The CEO is taking a risk, putting himself out there at the risk of not meeting the guidance. And with that risk, they're guiding plus 87%. So when I input this new number in my spreadsheet, which the guidance is much more optimistic than the analysts and what the analysts say. When I put these new numbers in my spreadsheet, I get an enterprise value over a gross profit over revenue growth of 0.13. So how much am I paying for that growth for each percentage point of growth? I'm paying a 0.13. That's not a lot at all. The EBITDA margin is a little low right now because they're investing a lot. But as the investment in liquid cooling capacity, drops, that margin should go back up. The gross margin, it's hardware, When you sell hardware, you can't expect SaaS gross margins. Anyways, despite this low of an EBITDA margin, you get a rule of 40 out of 96. So that's really, really outstanding for me. A 96. I mean, granted, NVIDIA is 150. If you saw my video for NVIDIA the other day, it's 150. But NVIDIA is not trading this cheap. So this is an outstanding score in my valuation. Of course, not as cheap as HIMSS, but pretty darn cheap for the sector, for one of the hottest sectors. So I personally believe that this valuation is a gift. I will be buying more of that stock on Monday. 0.13 is very cheap, and I am not too spooked by the claims of their short report and by the delay of a restatement. Don't forget, these returns were like if you want to achieve returns, you have to take some risks, if that makes some sense. Like maybe I'm wrong, and so if I'm wrong, that will be a risk. Maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong on a few stocks. The key is to be right on, say, 60-65% of them. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's going to zero. I don't think so based on my analysis. Anyways, if you don't care about product adoption like I do and growth like I do, I'm a growth snob. I love growth. But if you're more of a traditional value-oriented investor, then there's also a tremendous amount of stuff to love about this company because it's trading at an enterprise value over forward EBITDA of 9.2. So forward EBITDA, right? Proxy for cash flow, trading at 9 times that. Gross profit, 5 times. So from a value standpoint, to me, I find this stock very cheap. Let me conclude some final considerations. And this is kind of me anticipating some of the comments that I may get. So one of the comments you may get is like, oh, they're going to need to invest a lot in the future to meet that demand. And, these companies sure enough need to invest a lot. First of all, I want to give management kudos for being an astute manager of equity. They issued equity when the stock was, let's call it, just shy of $1,000. And the stock is at $386 right now. So they issued $1.7 billion of equity, and your cash came in at a valuation just shy of $1,000. Right? So right there, if they were to issue the same amount of shares, right, they would get about 3 times fewer dollars. So that was great. They didn't quite hit the peak of the $1,200 for that stock, but they raised equity when the price of the asset was thriving, and we want that. And so I love to see that they were able to do that. If you have to issue equity, might as well do it when the stock is expensive. I also want to report on this. So the company, of course, they've done a lot of investments already, and they keep investing for the future. So it's worth mentioning that if you go to cash flow statement, the cash balance, ended at the end of the quarter was down $445 million. So I just want to do a quick thing here. So they have 1.67 billion of cash left on the balance sheet right now. And so if you do that over 4 quarters, that over assuming they still invest Q4 the same over next Q1 through Q4 25, that would be roughly 4 quarters, right? A little less. But if you don't take 445, if you remove a little bit, that's roughly 400 million for 4 quarters. And don't forget, they have about 400 million of EBITDA, right? Of cash flow coming in. So I estimate that they can probably invest, right? Their capital expenditure can probably be about 800 million a quarter for the next quarter without having to worry about a new capital raise. And if they invest more than that, they may have to do a capital raise, but I think they will do that opportunistically. They would obviously not issue shares at this price. They would issue shares if the stock went back above 1,000, and that would be a wise thing to do to get money in when the stock is expensive. We know NVIDIA did that multiple times. We know stocks like Tesla did that multiple times. So year from now, new capital raise, fully possible. And let me conclude, of course, by stepping back and looking at the total performance. So the total performance, of course, has been lower than NVIDIA, because NVIDIA has been the best performing asset of the past 20 years, but it's still outstanding. So if you look NVIDIA since 2007 until today, they did 36%, average annual return. SMCI was a 24% average annual return. So that's a good 10% more than, not 10% more, right? 10 points. That's 10 more than the Nasdaq. Nasdaq is roughly 14 to 15%. SMCI is 24%. So by all means, as far as historical performance goes, top asset. And I just want to say, the stock did not run up nearly as much as NVIDIA since the start of the year, thanks to that drop, thanks to the short report. And so this is a stock that's, quote unquote, only up 52% since the beginning of the year compared to NVIDIA. Despite the drop of NVIDIA, NVIDIA is up 167% since the beginning of the year. So, do you still believe AI is a fad? Assuming one has believed that. If you believe AI is a fad, of course, you want to stay away from these companies. I don't believe AI is a fad. I'm still sad having sold out of my NVIDIA position, and I'm happy to take a new try at AI and AI plays in the form of SMCI and in the form of this deal that the market gave us. So very thankful for that. As always, this was not investment advice, no financial advice. This is just entertainment. Hoping you were entertained. Please like, please subscribe. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day.